Hello, thank you for tuning in. This is Mark Anstey. If you're watching this video, it's because you've either bought a set of decals for your luggage for your motorcycle, or you're thinking of doing so and you're looking to find out the easiest way to apply them. This is a standard BMW GS top box, but the same application or the same technique applies regardless of the style of the box, really. I've made sure that the box is thoroughly clean, and what I'm doing now is just wiping it down using a clean cloth and methylated spirits, but you can use cleaning alcohol, various other products that are available out there. Basically something that does a good thorough job at making sure that the surface is clean and degreased. Once the box is clean, it's recommended just to take the latches off. It's much easier to work with the smooth surface. They're just held in with 4 self-tapping screws. There's obviously 4 bolts at the top for the top one, and then there are 4 down at the bottom for the clasp that holds the box onto the bike frame. So simply take those off, then wipe the surface down afterwards, again using the same methylated spirits or the alcohol cleaner that you used previously. Then you'll see the 4 screws down at the bottom there for the latch down at the bottom of the box. Simply undo those. Again, 4 simple screws with an Allen key. Again, make sure that the box is clean, so it's all ready and prepared to go there. There's a nut and bolt that holds the lid cable in position, so again, simply just remove that with the spanner. And then just a quick look around the box. See, it's all nice and clean, degreased, ready to go. Next thing to do is to just offer up the decal. Leave the backing paper in position, but just offer it up to the box, just making sure that everything lines up correctly. Then once that's done, you can then peel back half of the material. You can put these stickers on wet, but I prefer to put them on dry. What I do is I peel back half of the backing paper, as you'll see. I then remove half of that backing paper, so cut that part off. Be careful not to cut through the actual surface of the decal itself. So remove the backing paper, then I cut a thin strip out of that. It's about 1 centimetre wide, thereabouts, and I replace the backing paper. Make sure you do it the right way up, so it's the non-sticky side onto the adhesive. Reposition the backing paper on, and then what you'll have then is a simple gutter in the center. In this point, it's the center of the back of the main box, so the rear panel. There's a simple area there that lines up. Now what you can do is you can offer the decal up to the box. You can ensure that it's in the right place by positioning it, make sure it's nicely pushed up into the top edge of the box as well. You can reposition it if need be. There's only this thin area in the middle where the adhesive is free, so it's not going to stick. It'll stick in that particular point, but it's very easy just to move it and reposition it until such time as you're happy. Apologies, the camera's self-focused here. It's a little bit far out, but then once you're happy, when it's in the right place, then you just push the center part of that down. Again, just checking the rest of the decal is in the right position, that the sides flow down. You'll see now that you can then peel it back, and you can then slowly work one side first. You can either use your fingers, or I've got a squeegee that I use, or a credit card. The edge of a credit card works quite nicely as well. Something that's not going to scratch the surface of the material. Take your time as far as this is concerned. As I say, you can apply this wet, but these particular boxes have got rivets on, and I find it sticks much better. Well, obviously it sticks much better, but it's a much better finish if it sticks to those rivets immediately. You can do your finishing off as you've gone round, so just smooth it out, make sure there aren't any bubbles in there, make sure it tucks into the corners and into the edges, and just take your time as you're working round. Again, I'm just doing one side first. So I'm happy with the half that I've done of the rear of the box, and I'm moving round to the side of the box now. Already done the angled side, as you can see there, and I'm moving onto the side of the box, just gently smoothing the material down onto the side. Try not to stretch it too much. Effectively try and keep the material taut, and then just lower it down onto there. If you get any bubbles on there, they should smooth out without any problem. Just a little bit of coaxing. As long as you haven't stuck the material down, you can always re-peel it and then just smooth it back down again using your squeegee, just easing it out. If there are any stubborn bubbles in there, if it's not easy to peel the material back, then just a little bit of gentle heat, it just softens the material up slightly, just makes it a bit more malleable and allows it to push down into the surface. You can use your credit card or your squeegee and just carefully smooth in. So once you're happy with that, there's always going to be a case for a little bit of trimming here and there, so just cut in with a sharp scalpel, with a Stanley knife or a craft knife. As you can see, I've gone around the sides here. So from the centre of the box on the rear panel, I've gone all the way around to the back. Again, just using the squeegee there just to push in. Now this is where you can use a bit of gentle heat. This is why I prefer to put it on dry, because it sticks nicely to the rivets. If you put it on wet, then it takes a while for it to dry and it doesn't adhere to the rivets properly or very quickly. But a bit of gentle heat, just persuade the material around the outside of the rivet. Again, as I say, a credit card will work as well. And when you're happy with that, you can then, again, pull the material tight and just coax it gently into position, and it should go on nice and smooth. So again, just using my squeegee just to push it in, and it just goes round the edge. Again, a little bit of heat if it's needed. This is the bottom of the box. Obviously we don't put any stickers on those. This is the part that mounts onto the bike itself. So I'm now moving on to the other part of the box, slowly peeling back the backing paper, smoothing the decal onto the nice clean box, making sure there aren't any bubbles as I go around the corner. Make sure the material is nice and taut as you put it round, so it sticks nicely and is nice and crisp on the corners. So just use your squeegee just to finish it off. Same as before, just a little bit of attention around the rivets. Bit of heat. Smoothing it on, making sure there aren't any bubbles in there. And folding the material down around the edge of the box in much the same way as you did previously. Nice crisp rivet. Some customers have actually cut the rivets out when they've applied them. They've gone around them with a sharp knife afterwards, but personally I prefer them to be covered. So now moving on to the side of the box. Smoothing the material down, making sure it doesn't crease up and stick into the wrong position. Again, easing it down using the edge of the squeegee. Squeezing any air bubbles out. And then working around the rivets in much the same way as I did before. So there's a slight overlap on the edge into the plastic there, so I've just put a little nick in with a little bit of a knife, just a little nick into the corner, which just eases the tension on that part of the material, just makes it slightly easier to fold over. Again, you can see just massaging any bubbles out of there, smoothing the material down and working back in with the corner of the squeegee. A little bit of heat. Don't get the material too hot, just gentle heats and coax it around. Don't overheat it because it will stretch and bubble and it probably won't go back into position, but just gentle heat's fine. So attention to detail, make sure that all the corners are tucked in. If there's any overlap, then you can trim those off with a sharp craft knife. Again, working around the final corner. This particular top box has got the optional soft backrest cushion on it. A little bit more cautious, a little bit more complicated to go around. I think they're self-adhesive stuck on, so I suppose it could be taken off. Again, what I've often done, what I didn't do in this instance here, was I didn't remove the hinges off the back of the boxes, but in much the same way as removing the latches makes it a little bit easier, then taking the hinges off, those little triangular hinges as well, can make the job a little bit easier at times. Again, ensuring that the material is butted right up to that back cushion that's on that particular lid. I'm just making little nicks in the material just to allow it to bend. That's it. And then just coax that into position, and then you can just trim off any excess material afterwards. Nice sharp scalpel. Careful not to cut the cushion itself. The thing about the cushion is it sticks down, so you can actually push the vinyl underneath it a little bit. Again, it gives it a much tidier edge. Just working around the rivets. We're going to concentrate on the lid for the box now. So in the same way as I peel back half of the backing paper on the wraparound side, I'm doing the same again. Just peeling back half of the backing paper, carefully cut it off. Again, be careful not to cut the vinyl itself, just cutting the backing paper, removing half of that and any bits that fall into it, and then literally just cut a slither out 1 centimetre or so wide. Same as before, make sure that you put the backing paper on the right way around. You want to put it on so it's shiny side onto the adhesive, that way it won't stick. Reposition it. Push it back into position. And now you've got that nice central gutter again where you can reposition the lid. You can make sure it lines up on all the corners, and when you're happy, then you can apply a little bit of pressure to that exposed center part just to position and hold the lid of the vinyl on the lid in position. Same as before then, you just do half at a time, gently coax the material or the backing paper back. Using a squeegee or your hand, just gently smooth the material down onto the box lid. Smoothing out any bubbles that might be appearing. Again, use your finger on the edge just to give your vinyl a nice hard edge. Sharp edge. And ease down that side. I'm going to lift and peel back the backing paper on the other side. Gently smooth that back down as well. And smooth down the sides and around over the edge. Then work into the corner using the corner of your squeegee. You'll see there's a little bit of excess material there, just needs trimming off afterwards with a sharp craft knife. So both sides are done. Smoothing it down, slight bubble in the side of there, but a bit of gentle pressure on that, and a little bit of heat will sort that out. Right, so this is a slightly more tricky part. This is the area where you need to go around the tie down bars. Now they're pre-cut. Just try and roll back the edge of that vinyl slightly, just so that it stops it sticking to the tie bar, and then it gives you the opportunity to actually poke that little flap of vinyl through and down into the middle. So you're pushing down, and it's sitting nicely underneath the tie down bars. Again, the whole secret, if you like, of putting this stuff on is it's not stretching the material, it's coaxing it, smoothing it into position. So again, it's not stretching anything, just rolling the corners back, gently poking it down and pushing it down so it's into the right position. Just using the corner of the credit card or your squeegee, and again, just easing the vinyl down around over the metal part of the tie down bars. Advice here is just take your time. Sometimes they go on straight away, easy as anything, and other times you feel as if you go backwards and forwards a little bit. So again, just rolling the corners over, make sure the material is straight. And then in theory, you can't see where they meet underneath that tie bar because of course the bar is in the way, but there'll just be a thin visible line just where the two pieces of vinyl meet. Again, what it tends to do is it sticks to that bar a little bit, so you have to kind of sort of persuade it around and just ease it in and around the tie bar itself. So you'll see when the material goes on smooth and flat, it doesn't wrinkle up at all. It goes on nicely. Once you're happy with that, you can smooth it down. Just work into the corners there with your squeegee. Again, coax it around the corners. difficult to see in the shade there, but there's a slight overlap there. So again, just trim that afterwards with a sharp knife. So as I said, often when you're putting the decals on a box, there'll be one area that goes on really easily, and there's always another little bit that just puts up a little bit more of a fight. I deliberately left this piece in the video just to show you that sometimes when you think it seems to be going wrong, just a little bit of extra time and patience will just sort it out. It's not lost. You can lift the material back up again. Sometimes it's as simple as maybe the material hasn't quite gone on square, and in which case it's got a little bit of a wrinkle in it, or a little bit of a bubble underneath of it. So just peel it back, and then you can just coax it down, smooth it on. A little bit of heat as well sometimes just helps to make the material just that little bit more flexible, a little bit more malleable. A little bit of gentle heat into there. You see the material kind of stretches, or it kind of falls back into position. So time and patience. I know I've said that before, but time and patience, that's the key phrase, if you like, when you're putting these things together. Coaxing it over the edge, smoothing it in with your fingers. The bubbles in here, just trying to get them smoothed out. Just try and lift that material and just pull it taut. So again, working in with the edge of the squeegee, and then you can trim those parts off afterwards with a sharp craft knife. I think in hindsight I could have done with a new blade in this knife. It's much better to have one proper cut at it than it is to go back over and over and time again, as I did with this. Just work that down with your finger, with your nail. So same around the other side, and then that's pretty much it. So it's pretty much completed box. You can do the refineries afterwards, so you can make sure that it's all positioned, it's all cut down into the corners, that the rivets are all round. Just a case now of reapplying, refitting the locks. Again, the good thing about taking them off is that when you put them back on again, it just means that you haven't had to trim the vinyl around the lock. The lock goes straight on top, gives you a much cleaner finish. Self-tapping screws, don't over tighten them. Make sure that they are tight, but don't over tighten them. Make sure it still closes fine. And then there's the one down at the bottom, the clamp that secures it onto the bike itself, onto the frame. A bit more tricky this one because the screws are at an angle. Just pierce the vinyl, put the bolt back in for the lid cable. When you're replacing the lid cable, use the spanner on the inside to tighten the nut rather than turning the head of the screw itself. Just try and hold that and keep that still. It avoids the material getting twisted up as the nut of the head of the nut turns. So that's it, you've finished. The application technique for the side boxes is very similar to that used on the top box. Just take your time, and I look forward to seeing photographs of your bike, and safe and happy riding, and thank you very much for watching.